The rain fell like tears from a wounded sky that October evening, 15 years ago. 8-year-old Kai Brennan stood frozen on the cracked sidewalk outside his family's textile manufacturing company in North Carolina, watching his entire world collapse in slow motion. Police cars surrounded the modest but proud building that his father, Thomas Brennan, had built from nothing. Red and blue lights painted the wet pavement in colors that would haunt Kai's nightmares for years to come. FBI agents in dark windbreakers moved in and out of the factory entrance, carrying cardboard boxes labeled "Evidence" in bold block letters. "Dad!" Kai tried to run forward, but his mother's trembling hands held him back. "Don't, baby," Sarah Brennan whispered, her voice breaking. "Don't let them see you cry." But Kai couldn't stop the tears. Through the blur of rain and grief, he watched as 2 federal agents led his father out in handcuffs. Thomas Brennan, the man who had coached Kai's Little League team, who took him fishing every Sunday, who worked 18-hour days to provide for his family, walked with his head down, shoulders slumped in defeat. Their eyes met for one heartbreaking moment. His father tried to smile, tried to be brave for his son, but the fear and confusion in his eyes told a different story. "I didn't do it," Thomas called out. "I swear I didn't embezzle anything. This is a setup. Someone is framing me." "That's what they all say," one agent muttered, pushing him roughly toward the unmarked sedan. Sarah sobbed openly now, her whole body shaking. Neighbors gathered on the street, whispering, pointing, judging. The Brennan family's reputation, built over 2 generations in their small North Carolina town, was being destroyed in a single night. Kai's small hands clenched into fists. His chest felt tight, like he couldn't breathe. Nothing made sense. His father was the most honest man he knew. Thomas Brennan donated to local charities, sponsored the youth soccer league. Volunteered at church. He would never steal. Never. Then Kai saw it. Across the street, partially hidden in the shadows, sat a gleaming black Range Rover. The kind of SUV that cost more than his father earned in 5 years. Through the rain-streaked window, Kai glimpsed a man's face. Cold. Calculating. Satisfied. The man was watching the scene with the expression of someone watching a chess game where every move had gone exactly according to plan. He was older, maybe in his late 40s, wearing an expensive suit. His eyes held no pity, no doubt, only triumph. Even at 8 years old, Kai understood he was looking at the face of his family's destroyer. The Range Rover pulled away slowly, disappearing into the rainy night like a predator that had finished its kill. "Who was that, Mom?" Kai asked, his voice small and broken. His mother didn't answer. She was staring at the empty space where the car had been, her face pale as death. She knew. Somehow, she knew exactly who it was. "Richard Sterling," she finally whispered, the name falling from her lips like a curse. "Owner of Sterling Textiles." 3 months later. The funeral was small. Only a handful of people came to pay their respects to Thomas Brennan, the man who had died of a massive heart attack in federal prison while awaiting trial. Most of their former friends had disappeared, unable to associate with a family tainted by scandal. 9-year-old Kai stood at his father's grave in the small cemetery outside Charlotte, dressed in a too-big black suit borrowed from a charitable neighbor. The words on the simple headstone blurred through his tears. Thomas James Brennan. Beloved father and husband. 1968 to 2010. He lived with honor. But there was no honor in how he died. Not for his father, whose name remained stained with accusations of embezzling over $2 million from company accounts. Not for his mother, who had grown thin and silent, moving through their tiny apartment like a ghost. And certainly not for Kai, who felt rage growing in his young heart like a poisonous seed. At night, he would pull out the newspaper clippings he'd collected and hidden under his mattress. Articles about the scandal, about the forensic evidence found in his father's computer, about Sterling Textiles' press release expressing deep disappointment in a competitor's criminal activities. Kai read them over and over, memorizing every detail, every lie. The evidence had been planted. The digital trail fabricated. The witnesses paid off. Kai didn't understand all the details yet, he was too young, but he understood the truth that everyone else refused to see. Richard Sterling had destroyed an innocent man to eliminate business competition and acquire Brennan Textiles for pennies on the dollar. "I'll make him pay, Dad," Kai whispered to the gravestone. "I promise. Somehow, someday, I'll make him pay for what he did to you." 6 months later. Kai sat on a plastic chair in the hallway of Hope House Children's Home in Charlotte, clutching a worn photograph of his family. In the picture, taken just a year ago at Disney World, they were smiling on Space Mountain. His father was laughing. His mother was beautiful. Kai was giving a thumbs up. That world might as well have existed on another planet. His mother stood a few feet away, talking in hushed tones with the facility director. Kai heard fragments, "Can't manage anymore. No money for rent. Breaking me." He'd watched his mother sell everything over the past months. First the furniture, then her jewelry, then his father's car. They'd moved from their 3-bedroom house to a studio apartment, then to a weekly motel. She'd taken on 3 waitressing jobs, but it wasn't enough. The legal bills kept coming. The shame kept crushing her. She'd started drinking. Now she was giving up the last thing she had left, him. "Kai, come here, sweetie," she said softly, her voice slurred slightly. He walked to her slowly, each step feeling like walking toward the end of the world. She knelt down, taking his face in her hands. Her eyes were bloodshot, her cheeks hollow from choosing vodka over food. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm not strong enough. I can't do this anymore." "I can help more, Mom," Kai said desperately. "I can get a paper route. I can mow lawns. Please don't leave me here. You deserve better than this," she sobbed. "Better than a drunk mother who can barely function. Here, you'll have meals, school, a chance at a future. I'm doing this because I love you." But Kai knew the truth. She was leaving because the shame of being married to a criminal, and the burden of raising his son alone had broken something fundamental inside her. The drinking was just how she coped. She kissed his forehead one last time, her tears falling on his face, the smell of alcohol on her breath. "Be strong, Kai. Be stronger than your father. Be stronger than me. And never let anyone destroy you the way they destroyed us." Then she walked away. Kai didn't cry. He'd learned that crying changed nothing. Instead, he watched her stumble through the facility gates, and he made a second vow to join his first. "They took everything from me. My father. My home. My mother. My childhood. One day, I will take everything from them. One day, Richard Sterling will know what it feels like to lose everything he loves." 15 years later, present day. Kai Brennan stood in his penthouse office on the 45th floor of Brennan Tower in Manhattan, looking out over the glittering New York City skyline. The city sprawled before him like a kingdom he'd conquered through sheer force of will. At 28, he'd achieved what most men only dreamed of. A multi-billion-dollar empire spanning technology, real estate, and sustainable manufacturing. Offices in 15 countries. His face on Forbes covers with titles like Self-Made Billionaire Under 30 and The Youngest CEO on the Fortune 500. But none of it mattered except for one purpose: revenge. The group home had taught him to be hard. Working multiple jobs through high school had taught him to be relentless. MIT, which he'd clawed his way into through academic scholarships and hustling, had taught him to be brilliant. Harvard Business School had taught him to be ruthless. And 15 years of planning had taught him patience. Every move he'd made had been calculated to bring him to this moment. "The final pieces are in place," Marcus announced, entering the office. He was Kai's CFO and right-hand man, the closest thing he had to a friend. They'd met at MIT, Marcus had been his roommate, and had looked out for each other ever since. Kai turned from the floor-to-ceiling windows, his expression unreadable. He'd learned long ago to hide his emotions behind a mask of cold professionalism. Tell me. Marcus laid out several folders on the glass desk. Sterling Industries is bleeding money. The investments you quietly manipulated through shell companies have tanked. 3 of their biggest retail contracts mysteriously fell through, thanks to our anonymous tips about quality control issues. Their primary lender is calling in loans we helped accelerate. And the stock price has dropped 42% in 6 months. And Richard Sterling? Desperate. He's been calling in favors, trying to find investors, but everyone's too nervous to touch a sinking ship. Word on Wall Street is he's got maybe 3 months before Chapter 11. Kai felt satisfaction settle in his chest like ice. 15 years. 15 years of planning, maneuvering, building his empire specifically for this purpose. It's time to make our move. Kai said quietly. Contact his office. Tell him that Brennan Global is interested in discussing a merger. Marcus hesitated. Kai, are you sure about the marriage clause? Kai's jaw tightened. It's essential. I don't just want to destroy his business. I want to take what he loves most. His legacy. His daughter. Arya Sterling is innocent in all this. She was just a child when. I was a child too, Kai cut him off, his voice hard. Did that stop Richard Sterling from destroying my father? From leaving me alone in a group home? From never once showing an ounce of remorse for what he did? No, but. Then this discussion is over. Make the call. After Marcus left, Kai opened the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside was a folder he'd kept for 15 years. Newspaper clippings about his father's scandal. Legal documents from the trial. And a single photograph, that same Disney World picture, now worn and faded. He'd carried it through the group home, through nights couch surfing when things got bad, through years of grinding his way up from nothing to everything. It reminded him why he could never stop, never forgive, never move on. I'm almost there, Dad, he whispered to the photograph. Soon, justice will be served. 2 days later, the meeting. Kai arrived at Sterling Industries headquarters in Midtown Manhattan in his matte black Porsche Taycan, his suit custom tailored from Savile Row, his appearance that of a successful tech mogul with nothing to hide. The building itself was impressive, a glass and steel monument to the empire Richard Sterling had built over 3 decades. But Kai saw the cracks. The outdated lobby design. The lack of recent renovations. The nervous energy of employees who sensed their company was in trouble. All according to plan. Richard Sterling's executive assistant, a nervous young woman named Jessica, led him to the executive floor. As they walked through the marble corridors, Kai studied family photographs on the walls. Richard at various charity galas. Richard receiving business awards. And there, in several photos, his family. His wife, Victoria, elegant, old money from Boston. His son, Blake, 21, at Yale studying finance. And his daughter, Arya. Kai stopped in front of one particular photograph. It showed Arya at what looked like a charity event, surrounded by smiling underprivileged kids. She was laughing, her eyes bright with genuine joy, her beauty natural and understated. She would be 24 now. He'd done his research, of course. MBA from Columbia. Ran the Sterling Family Foundation. Known for her passion for social justice and her stubbornness in equal measure. Active on social media advocating for workers' rights and ethical manufacturing. The irony wasn't lost on him. Perfect. Mr. Brennan? Jessica prompted. Mr. Sterling is ready for you. Kai tore his eyes from the photograph and followed her to the corner office with its panoramic view of Central Park. Richard Sterling stood as Kai entered, his hand extended in greeting. He was older now, 63, hair silver at the temples, deep lines of stress around his eyes. But those eyes. Kai recognized them immediately. The same cold calculation he'd seen through the window of that Range Rover 15 years ago. "Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming," Richard said with practiced warmth, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Please, have a seat. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "I'm fine," Kai said coolly, sitting across from him in the leather chair. They sat across from each other, and Kai felt the surreal weight of the moment. This man had no idea he was sitting across from the son of Thomas Brennan. No idea that the Forbes 30 under 30 billionaire before him was the orphaned boy he'd created. "I'll be direct, Mr. Sterling," Kai began. "Your company is in serious trouble. You need capital, you need investor confidence, and you need it immediately." Richard's smile faltered slightly. "The market has been volatile. The market is fine. Your company specifically is failing because you've made poor strategic decisions, failed to innovate with sustainable practices, and your reputation is suffering from that labor dispute last year. But that can be fixed with the right partnership. And you're proposing an acquisition. Brennan Global acquires 65% of Sterling Industries. I inject $600 million immediately to stabilize operations and rebrand around sustainable, ethical manufacturing, which is what consumers actually want now. We restructure, modernize, and within 18 months, the company is profitable again. The Sterling name stays on the label. Your employees keep their jobs. Your legacy is preserved." Richard leaned back, visible relief flooding his features. "That's incredibly generous. What do you want in return?" "Standard acquisition terms. Majority board control, final say on strategic direction, profit sharing proportional to investment." Kai paused, then added casually, "and one personal condition." "Personal?" "A marriage between your family and mine." The office went silent. Richard stared at him, processing the words. "I'm sorry, did you say, marriage?" "I believe in building lasting partnerships, Mr. Sterling. Mergers fail all the time because there's no real trust, no true alignment of interests. But a marriage between our families? That sends a powerful message to Wall Street that this isn't just a business deal, it's a dynasty being built on commitment and shared values." "A marriage," Richard repeated slowly, his face paling. "Between whom, exactly?" Kai's voice remained perfectly calm, perfectly cold. "Your daughter. Arya." "My daughter? Absolutely not. This is insane. People don't do arranged marriages in America. This isn't the 1800s. "No, but it is business," Kai interrupted smoothly. "And your business is dying. I'm offering you a lifeline with one string attached. Your daughter marries me, and I save everything you've built. She refuses, and Sterling Industries goes bankrupt in 3 months. Your call." Richard's hands trembled slightly as he reached for his scotch. "Arya would never agree to this. She's passionate about her independence. She's a feminist, for God's sake. She'll tell me to let the company burn before she agrees to some archaic arrangement. Then I suggest you be very persuasive." Kai stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "You have 48 hours. After that, I take my offer elsewhere. I hear Wellington Textiles has a daughter." He walked to the door, his Italian leather shoes silent on the plush carpet. Then he paused, turning back. For just a moment, he allowed his mask to slip. His eyes hardened to flint, and his voice dropped to something darker, more dangerous. "You destroyed a good man once, Mr. Sterling. You fabricated evidence, ruined his reputation, and stole everything he'd built. That man had a wife. A son. Did you ever think about them? Did you ever lose a single night's sleep?" Richard frowned, confused and increasingly alarmed. I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you really? Kai's smile was colder than a New York winter. Thomas Brennan. Does that name ring a bell? Brennan Textiles. The company you destroyed in 2010. The color drained from Richard's face. His mouth opened, then closed. Recognition and horror dawned in his eyes. You're his son. The boy. But your name. I changed it legally when I turned 18. Wanted to build my empire without my father's criminal name holding me back. Kai's voice was ice. Surprise. The orphan you created grew up. And now I'm giving you a choice you never gave my father: surrender everything you love, or lose everything you have. This is blackmail. No, this is business. Just like you told my father it was just business when you framed him. You have 48 hours, Mr. Sterling. Use them wisely. Kai left, closing the door quietly behind him, leaving Richard Sterling staring after him in pure horror. In the elevator down, Marcus was waiting. How'd it go? Kai's reflection in the polished elevator doors showed a smile that held no warmth, only grim satisfaction. He knows who I am now. Is that wise? Giving him time to prepare. Let him prepare. Let him spend the next 2 days in absolute panic, trying to figure out how to protect his family from the monster he created. Let him feel the fear of consequences finally catching up. Kai's eyes were dark. By the time those 48 hours are up, he'll give me exactly what I want. And if Arya refuses? For just a moment, thinking of those bright eyes in the photograph, Kai felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. Then he pushed it down, buried it deep beneath 15 years of carefully cultivated rage. She won't refuse. Rich people never choose principles over privilege. And Richard Sterling will make sure of that. He's too much of a coward to lose his empire. As the elevator doors opened to the bustling Manhattan lobby, Kai stepped out into the afternoon sunshine, 15 years of planning finally bearing fruit. The trap was set. Soon, the Sterling family would be exactly where he wanted them, at his mercy. And he planned to show them exactly as much mercy as they'd shown his father. None at all. Arya Sterling was about to learn that every action has consequences. And her father's sins were about to become her prison. The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling Family Foundation offices in Lower Manhattan, casting golden light across Arya Sterling's desk. She was deep in concentration, reviewing grant applications from community organizations across the city, when her phone buzzed for the third time. Dad, need to see you. Family meeting. Tonight. 7 p.m., important. Arya frowned at the text. Her father rarely requested family meetings unless something was seriously wrong. The last one had been 2 years ago when her grandmother passed away. She glanced at the stack of applications in front of her: a women's shelter in the Bronx that needed funding, an after-school program in Brooklyn, a job training initiative in Harlem. Real work. Important work. Work that actually mattered. Unlike whatever corporate drama her father was probably stressing about. "Everything okay?" asked Jordan, her assistant and friend, noticing her expression. "My dad wants a family meeting tonight." Never a good sign. Arya tucked a strand of her honey-blonde highlighted braids behind her ear. "Probably wants to lecture me again about joining Sterling Industries instead of wasting my MBA on charity work." Jordan laughed. "Girl, you literally help hundreds of families every month. If that's wasting in education, sign me up for waste management." Arya smiled, but the uneasy feeling in her stomach wouldn't go away. Something felt off about this meeting. Her father's text had an edge of desperation to it. She tried to focus back on the grant applications, but her mind kept wandering. Finally, she texted back. "Arya, what's this about?" The response came immediately. "Dad, not over text. Just be there. Please." The "please" was what worried her most. Richard Sterling didn't say please. 7 p.m., the Sterling penthouse, Upper East Side. Arya stepped out of the Uber in front of her family's limestone townhouse on East 72nd Street, the kind of address that screamed old money and generational wealth. She'd grown up here, but it had never quite felt like home, more like a museum where she wasn't allowed to touch anything. She took a deep breath before walking up the steps. Whatever this was, she'd handle it. She always did. Her mother, Victoria Sterling, opened the door before Arya could use her key. Victoria was elegant as always in a cream cashmere sweater and perfectly pressed slacks, but her eyes were red-rimmed. She'd been crying. "Mom." Arya's heart clenched. "What's wrong? Is someone hurt? Is it Blake?" "No, sweetie, your brother's fine. He's inside." Victoria pulled Arya into a tight hug that lasted a beat too long. "Just, please keep an open mind tonight. Okay? You're scaring me." "I know. I'm sorry. Come on." Victoria led her through the marble foyer into the formal living room, where her father and brother were waiting. Richard stood by the fireplace, nursing a scotch that clearly wasn't his first. Blake sat on the leather sofa, looking confused and concerned. "Rhea." Blake stood and hugged his sister. At 21, he was still her baby brother, currently on winter break from Yale. "What's going on?" "Dad's been weird all day." "That's what I'm here to find out." Arya looked at her father. "Dad? What's this about?" Richard drained his scotch and poured another. That was when Arya knew it was really bad. Her father was always controlled, always measured. She'd never seen him drink like this. "Sit down, Arya," he said quietly. "I'd rather stand." "Arya, please. Just tell me what's going on." Richard took a long breath, then finally looked at his daughter. "Sterling Industries is in financial trouble. Serious trouble. We're facing bankruptcy within 3 months if we don't secure immediate capital investment." Arya's eyes widened. "What? How is that possible? The company's been profitable for decades. We made some bad investments. Lost some major contracts. The market shifted towards sustainable manufacturing and we didn't adapt fast enough. And there was that labor dispute last year that damaged our reputation." Richard's voice trailed off. "The details don't matter. What matters is that we have one option to save the company. One investor willing to inject enough capital to stabilize everything." "Okay," Arya said slowly. "That's good news, right? So why does Mom look like someone died?" Richard set down his glass with shaking hands. "The investor has conditions. Standard business terms, mostly. But one personal condition." The room went silent. Arya felt ice forming in her veins. "What kind of personal condition?" "A marriage." Richard couldn't meet her eyes. "Between you and him." For a moment, Arya was sure she'd misheard. She actually laughed. "I'm sorry, what? Did you just say marriage?" "Arya. No. Absolutely not. This is insane. This is, Dad, people don't do arranged marriages in America. This isn't some medieval negotiation." Her voice rose with each word. "Tell whoever this investor is that he can take his sexist, archaic proposal and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. Arya, if you would just listen." "Listen to what?" She was shouting now, her whole body trembling with rage and disbelief. "Listen to how my own father wants to trade me like I'm some kind of asset. Like I'm property to be sold. It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Dad? Explain it to me." Tears of fury burned in her eyes. "I have a degree from Columbia. I run a foundation that helps thousands of people. I have my own life, my own." Screamed at her to refuse, to walk out, to let her father deal with the consequences of his own failures. But then she thought about Mrs. Chen, who'd worked in Sterling Industries' accounting department for 20 years and sent money back to her family in China. About Marcus Rodriguez, who ran the warehouse and had 3 kids in college. About all the families who depended on Sterling Industries for their livelihoods. And she thought about Blake, who'd worked so hard to get into Yale. About her mother, who'd grown up in this house and would be devastated to lose it. About her father, who despite everything, had always supported her foundation work even when he didn't understand it. I need to meet him, Arya said finally. Before I decide anything, I need to meet this Kai Brennan and look him in the eye. Richard nodded. I'll arrange it. Tomorrow, if possible. And I want the full truth. About why he's really doing this. About what happened between you two. Because there's something you're not telling me, Dad. I can feel it. Richard's face paled slightly, but he nodded. Okay. Arya stood, wiping her tears. I'm not promising anything. But I'll meet him. And if I get even the slightest bad vibe, if he treats me like property or disrespects me in any way, the answer is no. I don't care what happens to the company. Understood? Understood, Richard said quietly. Arya grabbed her coat. I need to get out of here. I need to think. Sweetie, wait, Victoria tried to stop her. Mom, I love you, but I need space right now. From all of you. Arya's voice was thick with emotion. You just asked me to give up my entire future. I need to process that alone. She left before anyone could respond, walking out into the cold December night. Arya's apartment, West Village. Arya's apartment was small by Sterling family standards, a one-bedroom in the West Village that she'd insisted on paying for herself with her foundation salary. It was her sanctuary, filled with books, plants, and photos from her charity work instead of the sterile perfection of her family's townhouse. She'd called her best friend Simone on the walk home, and by the time she arrived, Simone was already there with wine and Thai food. Okay, Simone said, pouring them both generous glasses of Pinot Noir. Start from the beginning and tell me what the hell is going on. Arya collapsed on her couch and told her everything. By the end, Simone was staring at her in disbelief. Girl. Girl. Your father wants you to marry Kai Brennan. The Kai Brennan. That's your takeaway from this story? I mean, the arranged marriage thing is obviously insane and patriarchal and needs to die in a fire, Simone said quickly. But have you seen Kai Brennan? The man is fine as hell. Those Forbes photo shoots. That jawline. Those tattoos. Simone. I'm just saying. If you have to marry a billionaire stranger, at least he's not some old gross dude. Simone paused. Although honestly, that almost makes it worse. Why does he need an arranged marriage? He could literally have any woman he wants. That's what I said. Arya took a long drink of wine. None of this makes sense. There's something else going on. My dad said Kai has a personal agenda. That's creepy. I know. They sat in silence for a moment, then Simone asked gently, what are you going to do? I'm meeting him tomorrow. To see. I don't know. To see if he's a complete monster, I guess. Arya laughed bitterly. God, this is so messed up. I literally spent my day reviewing grants for women's empowerment programs, and now I'm considering an arranged marriage to save my family's company. The irony is not lost on me. You don't have to do this, Simone said firmly. You know that, right? It's not your responsibility to fix your father's mistakes. But it's not just him. It's all those families who work for the company. It's Blake's education. It's, Arya's voice cracked. I keep trying to be angry, to just say no and let them deal with it. But then I think about all those people, and I don't know if I can live with myself if I don't at least try. Simone pulled her into a hug. You have the biggest heart of anyone I know. And men like your father and this Kai Brennan? They use that. They weaponize your compassion. I know, Arya whispered. But what else can I do? The next day, 2 p.m., upscale restaurant, Tribeca. Arya arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes early, determined not to let Kai Brennan think she was eager or intimidated. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, a tailored burgundy pantsuit that screamed, professional woman who doesn't need your approval, paired with her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. She looked powerful, put together, and completely in control. Even though inside, she was terrified. She ordered a sparkling water and waited, her heart pounding. Part of her hoped he wouldn't show up. Part of her was morbidly curious to meet the man who thought he could buy a wife. At exactly 2 p.m., the restaurant door opened. And Arya's breath caught in her throat. Kai Brennan walked in like he owned the place, which, given his net worth, he probably could. He was devastatingly handsome in person, even more so than in his Forbes photos. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a chiseled jawline that could cut glass. His tailored charcoal suit fit him perfectly, showing off his athletic build. Diamond studs glinted in his ears. Intricate tattoos peeked out from his collar and cuffs. She caught glimpses of what looked like geometric patterns and maybe script. But it was his eyes that struck her most. They were dark, intense, and absolutely cold. Like looking into the eyes of a predator. This was not a man who smiled easily. This was a man who calculated every move. He spotted her immediately and walked over, his gait confident and controlled. When he reached the table, he extended his hand. Miss Sterling. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. His voice was deep, smooth, with the barest hint of a southern accent he'd probably worked hard to minimize. Arya shook his hand firmly, refusing to be intimidated. His grip was strong, his hand warm. She noticed the expensive watch on his wrist, the subtle designer labels, the aura of power that surrounded him like cologne. Mr. Brennan. She kept her voice cool, professional. Let's skip the pleasantries. You want to marry me to finalize a business deal. I want to understand why. A flicker of something, surprise. Respect, crossed his face before the mask fell back into place. He sat down across from her. Straight to business. I can appreciate that. I don't have time for games. Why marriage specifically? Why not just a standard acquisition? Why me? Kai leaned back in his chair, studying her with those dark, unreadable eyes. Your father and I have history. This arrangement ensures long-term commitment and trust between our families. That's a non-answer. It's the answer you're getting. Arya leaned forward, her own eyes blazing. Let me be very clear, Mr. Brennan. I am not some damsel in distress waiting to be rescued. I am not a prize to be won or a bargaining chip to be traded. I am a person with my own thoughts, feelings, and rights. If you think you can buy me like you'd buy a company, you're sorely mistaken. For the first time, genuine emotion flickered across Kai's face. His jaw tightened, and something that might have been anger, or was it admiration, flashed in his eyes. I'm aware you're not property, Miss Sterling. I'm not a monster. Could have fooled me. Monsters are exactly the kind of men who think arranged marriages are acceptable in 2025. And yet here you are, Kai said quietly. Which means you're at least considering it. Why? Arya hated that he had a point. She took a breath, choosing her words carefully. Because unlike you, I actually care about the people who would be hurt if Sterling Industries fails. The employees. The families. My brother. She met his eyes defiantly. But that doesn't mean I'm going to roll over and accept whatever terms you dictate. What are your terms? The question surprised her. She'd expected him to bulldoze over her, to lay down ultimatums. But he was actually asking. I need to understand who you really are, Arya said. Not the Forbes profile version. Not the billionaire CEO persona. I need to know what kind of man asks a woman to marry him without love. Kai was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was harder, colder. Love is a luxury, Miss Sterling. I'm offering you security, resources, and the freedom to continue your foundation work. That's more than most marriages have. It's also missing the entire point of marriage. Which is partnership. Trust. Building a life together because you actually want to, not because you're forced into it by circumstances. Something flickered in Kai's eyes again, pain, maybe. It was gone so fast she couldn't be sure. I can offer you respect, he said finally. I can offer you autonomy in your personal pursuits. I can offer you a marriage that doesn't interfere with your goals and ambitions. But I can't offer you love. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Arya demanded. Because my father said you have a personal agenda. So tell me the truth, why are you really doing this? Kai's expression darkened. For a moment, she saw something raw and dangerous beneath the polished exterior. Your father destroyed someone I cared about. Someone innocent. He fabricated evidence, ruined a good man's reputation, and never paid for what he did. This marriage? It's justice. Arya felt like she'd been punched. You're doing this for revenge. Against my father? Yes. She should say no. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away from this toxic arrangement. But then she thought about Mrs. Chen and Marcus Rodriguez and all the others. She thought about Blake. She thought about how her foundation's funding came partially from Sterling Industries' profits. If the company fell, her ability to help people would be severely limited. I need time, she said finally. To think about this. To process everything. You have 48 hours. After that, I withdraw my offer. Of course you do, Arya said bitterly. She stood, grabbing her coat. You know what the saddest part of all this is, Mr. Brennan? You could have actually been someone I respected. Someone I admired. You built yourself up from nothing, which is incredible. But instead of using your power to help people, to make the world better, you're using it for revenge. You're becoming exactly what your father's destroyer was, someone who hurts innocent people to get what they want. The words hit their mark. She saw Kai flinch, saw something crack in his carefully controlled expression. Maybe you're right, he said quietly. Or maybe the world isn't as black and white as you think it is, Miss Sterling. My name is Arya, she said. If you're going to force me into marriage, at least have the decency to use my actual name. Arya, he repeated, and the way he said it, soft, almost gentle, made something flutter in her stomach that she absolutely did not want to examine. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing, Mr. Brennan. If I do this, and that's a very big if, I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for my father. I'm doing it for all the people who don't deserve to suffer because of mistakes they didn't make. Remember that. She walked out without waiting for a response. That night, Arya's apartment. Arya sat on her couch, staring at her phone. Simone had come over again, along with two other close friends, Maya and Jasmine. They'd brought more wine and were currently staging what they called an intervention. Okay, let's make a pro-con list, Maya suggested, pulling out her phone. That's what my therapist always recommends for big decisions. This isn't a, should I take this job, decision, Arya said. This is a, should I sell my soul, decision. Even more reason to be systematic about it, Jasmine countered. Pros, you save hundreds of jobs, keep your family afloat, maintain your foundation funding, and, let's be real, you get to be married to a finance billionaire. Jazz. I'm just saying. The man is gorgeous. And those tattoos? Girl. He's also using me for revenge, Arya reminded them. That's pretty high up on the con list. Okay, valid, Maya conceded. But here's a thought, what if you use this situation too? Like, what if you agree to marry him, but make it clear that you're going to challenge him every step of the way? Make him uncomfortable. Force him to see you as a person, not just a pawn. Simone nodded slowly. That's, actually not a terrible idea. Like, if you're going to be trapped in this marriage, at least make it on your terms. Don't be a passive victim, be an active participant who refuses to play by his rules. Arya considered this. You mean, fight back? Exactly. Jasmine grinned. He wants revenge on your dad. Fine. But he's going to have to deal with you. And something tells me you're a lot more than he bargained for. For the first time since this nightmare began, Arya felt something other than despair. She felt a spark of defiance, of power. You know what? She sat up straighter. You're right. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing it my way. He thinks he can control me. He has no idea who he's dealing with. That's my girl. Maya raised her wine glass. To Arya Sterling, about to teach a billionaire that some women can't be bought. They all clinked glasses, and despite everything, Arya smiled. 2 days later, 6 p.m. Arya stood outside Kai's office building in Midtown, her heart pounding. She'd made her decision. She'd called her father that morning and told him what she was going to do. He'd cried, which she'd never seen before. Now she was here to give Kai her answer. She rode the elevator to the 45th floor, her reflection in the polished doors showing a woman who looked confident, powerful, and completely in control. Fake it till you make it, she thought. Kai's assistant led her to his office. He was standing at the windows, looking out over Manhattan, just like she'd imagined. When he turned, his expression was unreadable. Arya. I didn't expect you to come in person. I wanted to look you in the eye when I said this. She took a breath. I'll marry you. Something flickered in his expression, triumph. Relief, but it was gone in an instant. You will. On my conditions. Arya stepped forward, her chin raised. First, I maintain complete autonomy over my foundation work and my personal time. You don't get to dictate my schedule or my causes. Second, we appear as equals publicly. I'm not your arm candy or your trophy wife. I'm your partner in this arrangement, and you will treat me with respect. Third, after 3 years, as you promised, I walk away with a settlement substantial enough that I never have to depend on anyone again. And fourth. She stepped even closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, close enough to catch the expensive scent of his cologne. Fourth, you need to understand something. You might have forced me into this marriage, but you will never break me. You want revenge on my father? Fine. But I'm not going to make this easy for you. Every single day, I'm going to remind you that I'm a person, not a weapon. I'm going to challenge you, frustrate you, and refuse to be the passive victim you expect. If you want this marriage, Kai Brennan, you're going to have to deal with all of me. The good, the difficult, and everything in between. For a long moment, Kai just stared at her. Then, slowly, something extraordinary happened. He smiled. Not the cold, controlled smile she'd seen before. A real smile that reached his eyes and transformed his entire face. I wouldn't have it any other way, he said quietly. And Arya realized, with a thrill of fear and something else she couldn't quite name, that she might have just made a deal with the devil himself. But at least it was a deal on her terms. Then we have an agreement, she said, extending her hand. Kai took it, his warm fingers wrapping around hers, and she felt a jolt of electricity at the contact. We have an agreement, he confirmed. Welcome to the family, Arya Sterling. Soon to be Arya Brennan, she corrected him, the words tasting strange on her tongue. His grip tightened slightly. Soon to be Arya Brennan. As they stood there, hands clasped, sealing a bargain neither of them fully understood yet, one thought ran through both their minds. What have I just agreed to? The announcement hit social media like a bomb. At Kai Brennan, excited to announce my engagement to the incredible at Arya Sterling SF. She's brilliant, compassionate, and everything I never knew I needed. Can't wait to build a future together. #engaged #LuckyMan. The post included a photo that Kai's PR team had professionally staged the day after their agreement. In it, Kai and Arya stood on his penthouse terrace with the Manhattan skyline behind them. He had his arm around her waist, and she was looking up at him with what appeared to be adoration. The massive diamond engagement ring on her finger caught the light perfectly. To the world, they looked like the perfect couple. A modern fairy tale, the self-made billionaire and the philanthropist princess. Only Arya knew the truth about how that photo was taken. 3 days earlier, the photo shoot. Closer, the photographer had instructed. Mr. Brennan, put your hand on her waist. Miss Sterling, lean into him more. We need chemistry. Arya had felt Kai's hand settle on her waist, warm through the thin fabric of her designer dress. His touch had been gentle, almost hesitant, which had surprised her. For a man orchestrating revenge, he seemed oddly careful with her. Smile, Arya, Kai had murmured near her ear, his breath warm against her skin. We need to sell this. I am smiling, she'd replied through gritted teeth. That's your, I'm about to murder someone, smile. Try for something more, loving. Hard to feel loving when I'm being held hostage by a business arrangement. She'd felt him tense behind her. If this is too much. It's fine. She'd forced herself to relax, to lean back against his solid chest, to tilt her face up toward his. And for just a moment, looking into his dark eyes with the sunset painting everything gold, she'd forgotten to hate him. The camera had clicked. Perfect, the photographer had exclaimed. That's the one. Now, 3 days later, that photo was everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Forbes, People magazine. The internet was losing its collective mind. Present day, Arya's apartment, 7 a.m. Arya's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She groaned and reached for it, seeing hundreds of notifications. Simone, girl. You're trending. #1 on Twitter. Maya, the internet thinks you're the luckiest woman alive. If only they knew. Jasmine, okay, but that ring though? He really went all out. How many carats is that? Blake, sis, congrats I guess. This is still weird but that photo looks real. Are you okay? Arya scrolled through the comments on the engagement post. She's gorgeous. They're the most beautiful couple. From rags to riches to finding true love. Kai Brennan is living the American dream. I want what they have, loudly crying face. The way he's looking at her in that photo, that's real love. If only they knew it was all performance. All carefully crafted lies. Her phone rang. Kai's name flashed on the screen. She considered not answering, but they had a schedule to maintain now. Part of their agreement. What? She answered, not bothering with pleasantries. Good morning to you too, fiancé. His deep voice held a hint of amusement. Have you seen the response? Kind of hard to miss when my phone's been exploding since 6 a.m. Welcome to life in the public eye. It only gets worse from here. He paused. We have our first public appearance tonight. Charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum. Black tie. My driver will pick you up at 7. I know. Your assistant already sent me the schedule. Arya had received a detailed calendar that morning outlining every public appearance, interview, and event they'd need to attend over the next 3 months leading up to the wedding. I have my own life, you know. My foundation work doesn't stop just because I'm playing your fake fiancé. I'm aware. Which is why I've arranged for additional funding to your foundation. $500,000, unrestricted grant. You can use it however you see fit. Arya sat up in bed, shocked. What? Why would you? Because despite what you think of me, I do actually respect the work you do. And because if we're going to be married, your causes become my causes. Consider it an engagement gift. Before she could respond, he continued, the dress will be delivered to your apartment at noon. Vera Wang, custom made. Should fit perfectly. I had my assistant get your measurements. You had someone get my measurements? Arya's voice rose. That's incredibly invasive. Would you prefer to show up in Summit? Something off the rack while every other woman there is in couture? The press would tear you apart. His tone was matter-of-fact. Like it or not, you're about to become one of the most photographed women in New York. Image matters. Arya hated that he was right. Fine. But next time, ask me first. Noted. I'll see you tonight, Arya. He hung up before she could respond. Arya flopped back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. This was her life now. Public performances, designer dresses, and a fake relationship with a man who both infuriated and intrigued her in equal measure. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her father. Dad, thank you. For everything. I know this isn't what you wanted. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Arya's eyes burned with tears. She typed back. Arya, just take care of the company. Make sure everyone keeps their jobs. That's all I want. 6:45 p.m., Arya's apartment. Simone sat on Arya's bed, watching her friend get ready for the gala. The Vera Wang dress was stunning, a deep emerald green that hugged Arya's curves perfectly before flowing out in an elegant train. The back was open, showing off her smooth skin, and the front had a tasteful neckline that was sophisticated without being boring. Okay, I hate to say this, Simone admitted, but Kai has good taste. You look absolutely incredible. Arya studied herself in the mirror. Her hair was styled in soft waves that cascaded over one shoulder. Her makeup was flawless, done by the professional makeup artist Kai had also sent over. The engagement ring sparkled on her finger, easily 5 carats of the clearest diamond she'd ever seen. She looked like a woman in love. Like a woman about to marry the man of her dreams. The irony made her want to laugh and cry at the same time. I don't know if I can do this, Arya whispered. Look people in the eye and lie about being happy. About being in love. Hey. Simone stood and put her hands on Arya's shoulders. You're not just doing this for your family. You're doing this for every employee at Sterling Industries who gets to keep their job. For every family your foundation helps because you have the funding to continue. You're doing something incredibly selfless, even if it sucks. It really, really sucks. I know, babe. But you're strong enough to handle it. And who knows? Simone grinned. Maybe you'll end up actually liking him. Stranger things have happened. Absolutely not. The man is using me for revenge. There's no universe where I develop feelings for him. Simone's grin widened. That sounds like something someone says right before they fall in love in every romance movie ever. This isn't a movie. This is my actual life. The intercom buzzed. Miss Sterling, your car is here, the doorman announced. Arya took a deep breath, grabbed her clutch, and headed for the door. Wish me luck. You don't need luck. You're Arya Sterling. You're about to walk into that gala and show everyone exactly why Kai Brennan is the lucky one, not why. You. 7:30 p.m., Metropolitan Museum of Art. The car pulled up to the red carpet, and Arya's heart began pounding. She could see the photographers already, dozens of them, their cameras flashing continuously. Beyond them, crowds of people were held back by velvet ropes, hoping to catch a glimpse of celebrities. This was really happening. The driver opened her door, and the noise hit her immediately. Shouts, camera clicks, people calling her name even though most of them had probably never heard of her before this week. She stepped out, and the cameras went crazy. Arya. Over here. Show us the ring. Where's Kai? Arya smiled, her practiced, polished smile, and waved, trying not to be blinded by the flashes. She was about to start walking when she felt a warm hand on the small of her back. Breathe, Kai murmured in her ear. I've got you. She turned and her breath actually caught. Kai looked devastating in a custom black tuxedo that fit him like a second skin. His diamond earrings caught the light, and she could see hints of his tattoos at his collar and wrists. He looked like he'd walked off a magazine cover, powerful, sophisticated, and dangerously handsome. And the way he was looking at her, like she was the only person in the world. It's an act, she reminded herself. All of this is an act. You look beautiful, he said, and his voice held something she couldn't quite identify. Truly stunning. You clean up pretty well yourself, she replied, trying to keep her voice light. Kai offered her his arm. Ready? As I'll ever be. They walked the red carpet together, and Arya was acutely aware of every point where their bodies touched. His hand on her back, warm through the thin fabric of her dress. His arm under her hand, solid and strong. The way he angled his body slightly toward hers, protective. The photographers went wild. Kai. Arya. Over here. Look at each other. Kiss for the camera. Arya felt Kai tense at that last one. They hadn't discussed kissing. It hadn't been part of the agreement. He leaned down, his lips near her ear. We don't have to. But Arya understood the game better than he thought. If they wanted to sell this relationship, they needed to give the press what they wanted. She turned her face up to his, her hand sliding up to his chest. It's just acting, she whispered. Then she kissed him. It was supposed to be brief, chaste, just for the cameras. A simple press of lips that meant nothing. But the moment their lips met, something electric passed between them. Kai's hand tightened on her waist, and Arya felt her entire body respond to his touch. The kiss deepened just slightly, lasting a few seconds longer than necessary, and when they pulled apart, they were, please subscribe. The cameras had captured every second. Arya felt dizzy. That wasn't supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to feel like. We should go inside, Kai said, his voice rougher than usual. Arya could only nod, not trusting herself to speak. Inside the gala, 8:15 p.m. The Metropolitan Museum had been transformed into a winter wonderland for the charity event. Ice sculptures, white flowers everywhere, and elegant lighting that made everything look magical. New York's elite mingled in their designer gowns and tuxedos, champagne flowing freely. Arya and Kai made their entrance, and immediately people began approaching them. Congratulations, questions about the wedding, comments about what a beautiful couple they made. Arya played her part perfectly. She smiled, laughed at the right moments, let Kai keep his hand on her back as they navigated the crowd. To everyone watching, she was a woman blissfully in love. But inside, she was reeling from that kiss. From the way her body had responded to him. From the fact that she couldn't stop thinking about doing it again. This is bad, she thought. This is very, very bad. Arya Sterling. Or should I say, soon-to-be Arya Brennan. Arya turned to see Caroline Whitmore, a wealthy socialite who'd always treated her with barely concealed condescension at foundation events. Caroline, lovely to see you, Arya lied smoothly. I have to say, when I heard about your engagement, I was shocked. You always seemed so, focused on your little charity work. I didn't think you cared about marriage or social status. Caroline's smile was sharp. But I suppose when a man like Kai Brennan comes along, even the most independent woman changes her tune. Arya felt Kai tense beside her. Before she could respond, he spoke, his voice carrying an edge of steel. My fiancée's commitment to social justice is one of the things I admire most about her. She's brilliant, compassionate, and makes more of a difference in one day than most people do in a lifetime. He looked at Caroline with cold eyes. I'm the one who got lucky, not her. Caroline paled slightly and excused herself quickly. Arya looked up at Kai, surprised. You didn't have to defend me. Yes, I did. His jaw was tight. I meant what? I said. About respecting your work. Before Arya could process that, another couple approached, and they were pulled back into the performance. 10 p.m., the terrace. Arya needed air. She'd been smiling for 3 hours straight, and her face hurt. She'd shaken more hands than she could count, told the story of their whirlwind romance a dozen times, the PR-approved version, not the revenge plot reality, and posed for what felt like 1,000 photos. She slipped out onto one of the museum's terraces, breathing in the cold December air. The city spread out below, millions of lights twinkling in the darkness. Running away already? She turned to find Kai stepping onto the terrace, his jacket unbuttoned, his bow tie loosened slightly. He looked more relaxed than she'd seen him all evening. Just needed a break from pretending, she said honestly. Kai leaned against the railing beside her, careful to maintain some distance. You're good at it. The pretending. Years of practice at family dinners where everyone acts like we're happy. Arya paused. That kiss on the red carpet, that wasn't part of the agreement. I know. I'm sorry if I overstepped. You didn't. I kissed you. Arya forced herself to meet his eyes. I just want to make sure we're clear on boundaries. That was for the cameras. It didn't mean anything. Something flickered in Kai's expression. Of course. Just for the cameras. They stood in silence for a moment, the sounds of the party muffled behind them. Can I ask you something? Arya said finally. About your father. Kai's shoulders tensed. What about him? What was he like? Before everything. For a long moment, she didn't think he'd answer. Then he spoke, his voice quieter than she'd ever heard it. He was kind. Patient. He used to take me to work with him sometimes, let me help with things even though I was too young to actually be useful. A ghost of a smile crossed Kai's face. He believed in treating people fairly. Paying good wages. Wages, creating safe working conditions. He said a business was only as good as how it treated its workers. He sounds like a good man. He was. Which is why what your father did. Kai's hands gripped the railing. He didn't just destroy a business. He destroyed a good man's legacy. Made people think he was a criminal when he'd spent his whole life being honest. Arya felt the familiar guilt twist in her stomach. I can't change what my father did. But I can tell you that I'm sorry. Truly sorry for what you went through. Your apologies don't change anything. I know. But I'm giving them anyway. Kai looked at her then, really looked at her, and Arya saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Not anger, not coldness. Something softer, more vulnerable. Why are you being kind to me? He asked. I'm using you for revenge. I'm the villain in this story. Maybe, Arya said. Or maybe you're just a hurt person who never learned how to heal properly. Maybe you're not a villain at all, just someone who's been in pain for so long that you forgot there are other ways to live. Kai stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then he pushed off the railing. We should get back inside. People will notice we're both missing. He walked toward the door, then paused. Arya? Yeah. Thank you. For tonight. For playing your part. He hesitated. And for that conversation. About my father. Then he was gone, leaving Arya alone on the terrace, more confused about Kai Brennan than ever. 11:30 p.m., in the car. The ride back to Arya's apartment was quiet. They sat on opposite sides of the back seat, both staring out their respective windows, the divider between them and the driver giving them privacy. The PR team said we're trending again, Kai said finally. The red carpet kiss broke the internet, apparently. Great, Arya muttered. Nothing like having your fake relationship go viral. Is that what bothered you about it? That it was fake? Arya turned to look at him. What else would it be? Kai held her gaze. I don't know. It didn't feel entirely fake to me. The admission hung in the air between them. Arya's heart began racing. Kai. Forget I said anything. He looked away. We're almost at your building. The car pulled up outside her apartment. Kai got out first and offered her his hand to help her out, ever the gentleman for any photographers that might be lurking. They stood on the sidewalk, and Arya felt the strangest urge to invite him up. To keep talking. To figure out what was happening between them. Instead, she said, "Good night, Kai." "Good night, Arya." He hesitated, then leaned down and kissed her cheek. His lips lingered for just a moment longer than necessary. "You really did look beautiful tonight." Then he was back in the car, and Arya was watching his taillights disappear down the street, her hand pressed to her cheek where she could still feel the warmth of his kiss. This is bad, she thought again. This is so bad. Because somewhere between the red carpet kiss and the conversation on the terrace, Arya had realized something terrifying. She was starting to care about Kai Brennan. And that was not part of the agreement. 3 days later, Arya's foundation office. Arya was reviewing the new grant applications when Jordan burst into her office, phone in hand and expression worried. "Rhea, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Jordan turned his phone to show her. It was a gossip website, and the headline made Arya's blood run cold. Trouble in Paradise. Sources say Kai Brennan's engagement is a business arrangement, not a love story. Arya grabbed the phone and read quickly. The article claimed that sources close to the situation said the engagement was orchestrated to save Sterling Industries from bankruptcy. That Kai had demanded a marriage as part of the merger agreement. That Arya was sacrificing herself for her family's company. It wasn't totally accurate, but it was close enough to the truth to be dangerous. Who leaked this? Arya's hands were shaking. I don't know, but it's everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, all the gossip sites are picking it up. People are going crazy. Arya's phone rang. Kai. Have you seen it? He asked without preamble, his voice tight with controlled anger. Just now. Someone from your family talked. It had to be. No one else knew the details. My family wouldn't, but even as she said it, Arya wondered. Her father had been drunk when they discussed the arrangement. Could he have told someone? Could her mother have confided in a friend? We need to do damage control. Now. Kai's voice was all business. I'm sending a car for you. We're holding a joint press conference in 2 hours. A press conference? Kai, I don't think. Arya, if we don't control this narrative, it will control us. Every legitimate publication will pick this up. Our engagement will be seen as a fraud, which it is, but more importantly, it will destroy the Sterling-Brennan merger before it's finalized. Your father's company will still fail, and will have gone through all of this. For nothing. He was right. Arya hated it, but he was right. What do we say? We tell them the truth. Just, a different version of it. She could almost hear him thinking. We say yes, the merger brought us together, but we fell in love working through the business arrangement. That the engagement is real, built on mutual respect and genuine feeling. We make them believe in us. You want us to lie more convincingly. I want us to survive this. Kai paused. Unless you want out. I'd understand if you do. This wasn't what you signed up for. Arya thought about Mrs. Chen and Marcus Rodriguez and all the others. She thought about Blake and her parents. And, she realized with some surprise, she thought about Kai, about the vulnerable man she'd glimpsed on the terrace, not the cold billionaire seeking revenge. "I'm not backing out," she said firmly. "Send the car. We'll handle this together." "Together," Kai echoed, and something in his voice made Arya's heart skip. "Thank you, Arya." 2 p.m., Brennan Global Headquarters, Press Conference. The conference room was packed with reporters, cameras, and microphones. Arya stood beside Kai behind a podium, her hand clasped in his. She was wearing a navy power suit, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, looking every inch the confident businesswoman. Kai looked equally composed in a sharp gray suit, but Arya could feel the tension in his body where their shoulders touched. "Thank you all for coming," Kai began, his voice strong and clear. "Arya and I wanted to address the rumors circulating about our engagement. So let me be absolutely clear, yes, the Sterling-Brennan merger brought us into each other's orbits. Yes, we met through business. But what developed between us was not calculated or forced, it was genuine, unexpected, and real." He turned to look at Arya, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. He looked at her like she was precious. Like she mattered. "Is he acting? Or? When I first met Arya," Kai continued, still looking at her, "I saw someone brilliant, passionate, and completely committed to making the world better. Someone who challenged me, frustrated me, and made me want to be a better person." He squeezed her hand. "Falling in love with her was the easiest thing I've ever done." The room was silent. Every reporter was riveted. Now it was Arya's turn. She took a breath and stepped up to the microphone, Kai's hand still holding hers. "I won't lie and say this situation has been conventional," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "When Kai and I first started working together on the merger, I was resistant. I'm an independent woman, and I didn't like the idea of my personal life being tied to business arrangements." She allowed herself a small smile. But Kai was persistent. And patient. "And beneath the billionaire exterior, I found someone who understood loss, who valued integrity, and who was willing to fight for what he believed in." She turned to look at Kai now, and their eyes met. In that moment, with cameras flashing and the world watching, Arya realized something that terrified her. She wasn't entirely acting anymore. "So yes," she continued, "our relationship began in an unconventional way. But what we've built is real. And I'm choosing to marry Kai not because of business, not because of pressure, but because he's become someone I can't imagine my life without." The words were supposed to be lies. Carefully crafted PR statements. But as Arya said them, she realized they were becoming true. Kai's grip on her hand tightened, and she saw something flash in his eyes, surprise, maybe? Or hope. "We're not asking for privacy," Kai said, his voice rougher now. "We understand public interest. But we are asking for respect. Respect for the genuine feelings between us, and respect for the fact that love doesn't always follow a traditional path." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Brennan, there are rumors that you demanded marriage as a..." Kai continued, still looking at her, "I saw someone brilliant, passionate, and completely committed to making the world better. Someone who challenged me, frustrated me, and made me want to be a better person." He squeezed her hand. "Falling in love with her was the easiest thing I've ever done." The room was silent. Every reporter was riveted. Now it was Arya's turn. She took a breath and stepped up to the microphone, Kai's hand still holding hers. "I won't lie and say this situation has been conventional," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "When Kai and I first started working together on the merger, I was resistant. I'm an independent woman, and I didn't like the idea of my personal life being tied to business arrangements." She allowed herself a small smile. But Kai was persistent. And patient. "And beneath the billionaire exterior, I found someone who understood loss, who valued integrity, and who was willing to fight for what he believed in." She turned to look at Kai now, and their eyes met. In that moment, with cameras flashing and the world watching, Arya realized something that terrified her. She wasn't entirely acting anymore. So yes, she continued, our relationship began in an unconventional way. But what we've built is real. And I'm choosing to marry Kai not because of business, not because of pressure, but because he's become someone I can't imagine my life without. The words were supposed to be lies. Carefully crafted PR statements. But as Arya said them, she realized they were becoming true. Kai's grip on her hand tightened, and she saw something flash in his eyes, surprise, maybe? Or hope. We're not asking for privacy, Kai said, his voice rougher now. We understand public interest. But we are asking for respect. Respect for the genuine feelings between us, and respect for the fact that love doesn't always follow a traditional path. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Brennan, there are rumors that you demanded marriage as a